Okay, so let's dive into an anime that on the surface looks like it's for kids, but it carries the emotional weight of a full-blown psychological thriller. We're going to unpack the incredibly powerful and honestly deeply unsettling world of Takopi's original Sen.
This comment right here, this pretty much sums up everyone's reaction to this show. You go in thinking you're getting a cute little story about a friendly alien, and you walk away completely stunned by a story that goes into the absolute darkest parts of childhood trauma.
So, to really understand why this series has such a massive psychological impact, we've got to start with its central premise, which is, well, it's brilliant, but it's also incredibly brutal. The entire story is built on this insane contrast. You've got the promise, a cute little octopus guy from a place literally called Planet Happy who just wants to make people smile. And then you've got the reality, a grim psychological horror show about child abuse, trauma, and suicide. This isn't just a simple twist. The show actively weaponizes its cute art style to make the horror feel so much more shocking and in your face. What's so wild is how fast the show just obliterates any idea that it's going to be a fun, lighthearted time. We're talking within the first 15 minutes. A gadget that's supposed to create friendship is used for suicide. Now, this isn't just for shock value. This is the story's main point right from the jump. Simple, happy solutions are completely useless and can even be dangerous when you're up against real, complicated human pain. So yeah, that opening is a total gut punch, but it's not random. It's a very calculated move because the show is taking a direct shot at one of Japan's most famous and beloved characters. And here it is, straight from the creator himself. He wanted to make a dangerous version of Doraemon. For anyone who doesn't know, Doraemon is this iconic, cheerful robot cat who uses magical gadgets to help a young boy with his problems. So the creator of Takopi takes that familiar, comfortable idea and asks one truly terrifying question. And the answer that the show gives us is, it's just devastating. It makes the argument that having good intentions, without any real understanding of what's actually going on, doesn't just fail to help. It can make things 1,000 times worse. Every single time Takopi naively tries to fix things, he just ends up escalating the tragedy. Now, to really get what the story is doing, we have to look at the trauma these kids are going through. And I mean, really look at it. This isn't just some vague cartoon sadness. This is practically a clinical deep dive into the psychology of abuse. The story shows so masterfully how pain is never just there. It doesn't appear out of thin air. It's passed down, inherited from one generation to the next, like some kind of poisoned family heirloom. And this next slide really breaks down how that cycle works for each of our main characters. I mean, just look at this breakdown. Every child's psychological wound is a direct mirror of their home life. Shizuka is neglected, so she becomes emotionally numb, completely detached. Marina is physically abused, so she turns around and displaces that violence onto Shizuka. It's how she copes. And Azuma, who is starved for affection, becomes completely codependent, desperate for any tiny scrap of validation. These aren't just character flaws, they are textbook trauma responses, symptoms of a disease handed down by their parents. But this whole chain of harm, this cycle of pain, it's only possible because there's a much larger and maybe even more evil villain lurking over the whole story. This analysis just hits the nail on the head. The story's biggest evil isn't a person at all. It's the complete and total failure of adults and institutions to do anything. It's the teachers who don't see the bullying, the community that just gossips instead of helping, and the parents who are so wrapped up in their own pain they can't see what's happening to their kids. It's the silence. The silence is what lets all this suffering grow. And this is not just a made-up plot point. It's a terrifyingly real problem. A huge survey in Japan found that almost 36% of students reported being bullied, what's known as ijime. The cruelty that Shizuka goes through is a direct reflection of a widespread silent crisis that's happening in actual schools. And the reality behind the story is absolutely chilling. When you look at the official data on child abuse in Japan, you see that psychological abuse, the exact kind of thing Azuma and Shizuka deal with, is the vast majority of cases. Then comes physical abuse and neglect. These are literally the three traumas that define the three main kids in the story. The anime is holding up a mirror to a very grim, nationwide reality. Okay, so after wading through all of that darkness, it's totally fair to ask, is there any hope here at all? The story's ultimate message is really complex, and it's actually hidden right there in the meaning of its title. So, what is Takopi's original sin? Well, one of the best interpretations is this idea right here. Toxic optimism. He's dangerously naive. His sin isn't that he's evil, it's that he believes you can just throw happy gadgets at deep systemic trauma and expect a smile to magically fix a lifetime of pain. He's only ever trying to fix the symptoms without ever understanding the disease. The story is so layered that it's led to these really fascinating theological debates. Is Takopi kind of like Lucifer, a pure being from a perfect world who gets corrupted and falls after experiencing all of Earth's suffering? Or is he more of a Christ-like figure, a savior who comes to redeem humanity and ends up sacrificing himself for them? The fact that you can argue both ways just shows you how complex this story is. But right here, we get the answer straight from the anime's director. And this quote, it reframes the entire story. He says that even with all the pain and horror, the ultimate goal was never just to shock people. It was to tell a story about salvation. And the path to that salvation, it's not magic, it's dialogue. So if you think about it that way, the whole story is a journey. It starts with this huge miscommunication, this disconnect between Takopi's happy world and Shizuka's broken one. From there, it moves into the slow, painful process of learning to actually understand each other. And that finally reveals the core theme. Real happiness isn't made by a gadget. It's made by genuine, empathetic dialogue. And that brings us to the most powerful moment. Takopi's final, greatest act isn't to give them one last gadget. It's to remove himself, the magical easy fix, from the picture completely. His sacrifice doesn't magically solve their problems. What it does is give them the space they desperately needed to finally talk to each other and start to heal on their own terms. So in the end, we're left with this massive, haunting question. If just wanting to help and throwing simple solutions at problems doesn't work, then what does it actually take to help someone who is suffering? The show doesn't give us an easy answer, and maybe that's the whole point. It forces us to confront how difficult true empathy is and what it really, truly means to save someone.